Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more buckshot testing, and today I've got a combination that I'm really excited to see what it can do, because I have some high hopes in this combination that we could be able to get a really impressive pattern from it. These shells have already been a fantastic performer, and this choke has definitely shown promise, but we haven't found the perfect shell for it yet, and this combination might just be that. But as for those shells I brought out here today, I got out some more of these, the Remington Express Buckshot Magnum shells. They are the 12 gauge 3-inch 10 pellet load of Trulock buck, moving about 1225 feet per second. And for being a Remington Express shell, these have given us some really impressive results. I actually think these might have been one of the top 3 or 4 patterns we've ever seen a while back when we ran them through another choke combination. So I know these shells have some good potential to them, so I guess we'll see what they do through today's choke. And as for today's setup, I brought out my Remington 870 Special Purpose. It has a 24-inch Carlson's barrel on it, and for a choke, we've got the Trulock Boar Blaster choke. It is a 700 constriction, 0.700, so pretty typical modified choke type of constriction range, but they claim this choke to be perfect for double and triple aught buck. We've tried a couple double aught buck loads through it now with some decent results, but nothing super amazing, awesome, outstanding. So we'll see what the Remington triple aught buck shells can do, because that might really be the perfect constriction and shell combo that gives us one of those really nice, impressive patterns. So we'll see what happens. But as for today's test, everything is the same as usual. I've got the big sheet of paper at 40 yards. I've got the chronograph so we can get our velocity, and I've got the templates that we can lay up over our target as well. So let's get you guys a view of that target down there and see just how the Remington Express 10 pellet triple aught shells can do through the Boar Blaster. There's definitely a potential this could be one of those perfect combinations, but we don't know until we try it. So let's take our shot and see what kind of results we get. Alright, so that shell gave us 1233 through the chrono. The boss claim is 1225. So we almost hit the nail on the head right there with what they're claiming. So out of that 24-inch barrel, that's a very solid velocity all day long. Plenty good enough for a triple aught load like that. So looking pretty well perfect for a velocity, but what kind of pattern did it give us down at 40? Let's go check it out and see what we got. Alright, so now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. And now we're talking. I would pretty much immediately say that this is the best pattern we've gotten from that Boar Blaster choke so far, even though it's been a pretty decent performer overall. This is much more like what I was expecting to see from a Trulock choke. Now for reference, the paper is 36 inches wide. The white dot was my point of aim, so we were pretty well dead centered up on that. We had all 10 pellets on the paper, but we did have one flyer over there on the left, which seems to happen with a lot of buckshot loads, regardless of what they are and what choke you run them through. And I did measure the overall spread, including that flyer. It gave us 21 3/4 inches, but we had a 14 1/4 inch spread for the other 9 pellets right here in the middle of your screen. So 14 1/4 inches worth of spread for 9 pellets of triple aught right there around the point of aim. That's a pretty nasty looking pattern. I don't think it quite breaks the top 5 for what we've seen in buckshot shells in general, but hey, that's right up there. That is a very solid, very usable pattern. It's a pretty even spread of pellets through there. I mean, I guess you do kind of have a little bit of a void right at the top part of that white dot, but the overall size of the main portion of the pattern is still there. Sure, I wouldn't mind seeing that one flyer tuned in, but that's not completely unexpected either. Either way, very solid performance right here on the blank sheet of paper. But let's throw some templates up and see what our pattern actually looks like in a more realistic scenario. Alright, so first up is our 10-inch circle, and if we put it in the dead center core of our pattern, we only had 2 out of the 10 pellets within there. So definitely doesn't look super impressive as for a 10-inch circle in our core, but you can see there's only 1 pellet over here on the left. Everything else is right on the edges of that 10-inch circle, right behind the template. So the overall size of the pattern is definitely there. It just doesn't have a super hot core area to it, really. So this 10-inch circle definitely does not tell the full story of this pattern. So let's throw some animal templates up, which will give us a much better idea of how it would look as far as a hunting pattern goes. Alright, so first up here is our deer template, and we would have had 9 out of the 10 pellets definitely hit this deer. The one that we're missing is just above his back, right up there in the middle, so it just barely missed him. Either way, we have 8 pellets worth of triple aught right through the shoulder and vital area there. That is a very dead deer all day long, and I don't think he's getting very far, if anywhere at all, if you were to take that shot. So even though we don't have what looks like a super hot core, 80% of your load is right there through the vitals area where you want them to be. So a very solid pattern all day long right there. I wouldn't be scared to hunt with that combo out to 40 or 50 yards for deer. That's more than capable of getting the job done all day long. So now let's swap over to our hog template and see what that one looks like. And here's that hog template, and it's once again pretty well the same story. 80 to 90% of your load right through the vitals area there. 8 to 9 pellets worth of Trulock going through the lungs and stuff on a hog is absolutely going to get the job done just fine. So overall here today, very solid pattern all day long. I wouldn't be scared in the slightest to hunt with that. We saw one flyer over there on the left, and it doesn't necessarily have the hottest or tightest core area, but the size of the pattern is there to where it doesn't really make a massive difference one way or the other on this one. Now, believe it or not, this is not the best pattern we've seen from these particular shells, but it is the best pattern we've gotten so far from that Boar Blaster choke. So it seems like that choke might just prefer the little bit larger buckshot loads like the Trulock pellets. Either way, very solid result. Definitely not a whole lot to complain about with that. Very usable, and you could absolutely take that out on a hunt and be very confident in it. So looking good here today, and I'm definitely excited to see what other kinds of patterns we can get from other Trulock shells and stuff through that Boar Blaster, because it definitely shows some pretty good potential here, I would say. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about that result right there? Definitely not bad at all for a shell that doesn't have a wad, it isn't plated, it is buffered, which definitely helps, but it's a pretty solid performance for a Remington shell, and that's kind of been the case with these Express shells here recently, as they've been pretty good. And that Trulock Boar Blaster seems to do pretty well with Trulock shells so far. I mean, this is the first test we've done with a Trulock pellet through it, so we'll see what it does as we continue to test it, but that's a very solid result. We saw one flyer, and although it didn't give us anything super tight in the core, the overall size of the pattern there is more than good enough. 14¼ inches at 40 yards for 9 pellets worth of Trulock at 1230 something feet per second is going to be a very solid performer for you either way. So I'd say we saw some pretty good results here today overall. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of the Remington Express Trulock shells or the Boar Blaster choke or anything? And if so, what kind of results have you seen from them? And what other shell and choke combos do you want to see with those Remington Trulock shells or that Boar Blaster choke? Let me know all that down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.